Yes, this is Bro Diallo. We've listened to about a little over the first half of this magnificent Kwame Ture traveling mixtape. I had to slow it down. It's hitting me too hard. I'm like, if I don't step in a second, I'm not going to be able to do none of the show. It just really inspires me that these young brothers who listen to my show, by the way, and I'm almost ashamed of myself now because I know I didn't said some things I didn't have to say in a particular way they shouldn't be said, and I will say them again if I have to say them. But I got young people listening to me, which we always talk about how we inspire the youth, how we supposed to mentor the youth, but I mean these youth inspire me. They encourage me to keep it going and keep it rolling. But we're gonna come back to that. I'm not gonna deny y'all. Like I said, I've been listening to this again and again and again, and I hope they do one. If maybe they'll take suggestions. You can reach out to them. We got Fannie Lou Hamer. We got James Baldwin. We got the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We got so many strong, powerful voices that could use this traveling mixtape exhibit or traveling exhibit mixtape treatment. So get on, holler at your boy, hashtag Xavier, hashtag DJ Dash. Give him a shout out. But I just have a few things I want to say before we return to that. First of all, I'm glad I did this first because if I start talking about these issues now, I'm gonna try to avoid saying Congressional Black Caucus because let me leave that alone because I'm gonna have to dedicate a whole show to that, and I'll never get back to the mixtape if I do that. So, and if you're watching me on YouTube, and if you wonder why I'm going live later than I normally do, it's because I'm playing. You have to go to q4.org, iTunes, Q4 at the iTunes apps or TuneIn Radio. Or if you're in the city of Chirac, state of Illinois, the sanctuary hypocrisy. If you are living in Chicago, just know that our wonderful mayor has decided she's not going to cooperate with ISIS. She has told local agencies not to give information or to cooperate with ISIS in their illegal enforcement or their illegal perversion of U.S. immigration laws and standards. Now, that's great. Now, let me tell my immigrant brothers and sisters, because I don't hate on y'all. My conclusion is, if a nation is imperialist, then no one should respect their territorial integrity. So since the United States is an empire, I cannot legally, morally, ethically, historically, intelligently cry about people coming into and violating the territorial integrity of the United States because the United States is a global empire that does not respect the sovereignty of any other nation. And most people coming into this nation, so-called illegally, are coming here so that they are not on the front lines of the U.S. imperial policy. The United States is abroad raping resources and stealing resources and violating sovereignty and propping up everything from drug cartels to bloodthirsty dictators all over the world. So I cannot, if I want to define myself as a person of conscious and empathetic person, an intelligent person, a person with baseline intelligence, fix my mouth, my mind to say, they shouldn't be coming to this country or they should be kicked out of this country, whoever it is. The only nations that I respect the sovereignty of, the only nations that I respect the territorial integrity of, is the nation that offers that same level of respect to all other nations. Nations that are not imperialist, nations that pay market rates for resources and trade, nations that do not manipulate the UN and the Security Council, nations that do not fund international terrorism, nations that do not have black sites all over the world, nations that do not target every major population center with intercontinental ballistic missiles. How can you, as any humane, intelligent person, be mad about illegal immigration into the United States? Let me say, Bro Diallo says, come one, come all. Come by boat. Come by land. Come by air. Come by southern, northern, eastern, western borders To hell with U.S. sovereignty, to hell with U.S. territorial integrity, until every single citizen of the earth has their basic human rights respected. Until every nation has its territorial rights respected. Until every foreign U.S. military base is decommissioned, shut down, and bring all their troops home. Until every single nuclear submarine is no longer prowling the oceans. Until every aircraft carrier is brought back and deconstructed on the shores. Until the United States honors the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty and the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, until the Security Council of the United Nations is disbanded and the United Nations becomes a truly democratic world governing body. Don't tell me nothing about illegal immigration. And if you are a black person that's upset that people are sneaking into this country, then you are no better than a stupid ass slave who's mad that there are people violating the plantation fence. If you living on a plantation, the last thing you should be care about is anyone trespassing on the land of that plantation, because it ain't your land anyway. And then the land don't even belong to the plantation master anyway. And the only people that should be able to write and enforce immigration laws in this country are the Native Americans or the non-immigrant population descendants of slaves. Now that I said all that, it's still hypocritical to me that our mayor, Lightfoot, our progressive prosecutors, I don't know where the hell all these damn progressive prosecutors are popping up in politics, but the progressive prosecutor, Lori Lightfoot, on our necks, is not going to cooperate with ICE, but she has the full support and she gives full cooperation of the Chicago Police Department. So here's your situation, immigrant population. You have nothing to fear from ICE, but you still have everything to fear from the Chicago Police Department. And the Chicago Police Department employs the same tactics as ICE. They will capture you. They will torture you. They will murder you. They will violate your civil and human rights. They will enter and seize your property. And they will put you on track to be returned to whatever foreign S-hole country, as Trump called it, that you had to exit due to U.S. imperialism. So that's like someone coming to the antelope and telling the antelope, I will protect you from the cheetah, but I'm still feeding the lions. Well, if you help propping up the lions, you just giving me a different form of oppression. You're not ending oppression, but it makes for good press. That's what liberalism is. Liberalism will protect you from one thing while making you vulnerable to another thing. But she gets some progressive credentials. She gets some positive press in the liberal media. She gets some propaganda, and because she's getting positive press saying that the local authorities will not cooperate with illegal detentions or illegal deportations and the ICE, she gets some positive press, and that positive press, that one good thing, will allow her to do 110 bad things, and people will overlook it because they have this false impression that she's some kind of progressive or liberal. So that's why. And I gave her the benefit of the doubt. At least publicly I did. In my mind, I knew this was going to happen. Because under Rahm Emanuel, under Rahm, cover up police atrocity and police murder. Under Rahm, cover up his torture and detention centers. Under Rahm, defund the black community, defund black schools, while giving the police department all of the resources it needs and giving all these greedy bankers and failing to tax the multinational corporation that come to the city. Under Rahm Emanuel, he said that Chicago is a sanctuary city as its people suffer and die in the street. So I'm living in the city of Chirac, the sanctuary hypocrisy of the city of Chirac. But I stopped saying that. When Lori Lightfoot was elected and their administrations were in transition, I didn't know if she was going to continue the sanctuary hypocrisy. I knew, but I didn't know. I speculated. I conclude everything pointed to that, but I said, let me fall back because I hate being wrong. And she just might get into office and shock me, surprise me. But no, no surprises there. No surprises there. But I digress. I want to talk about something else. Snoop Dogg has made headlines as well. Snoop Dogg Tekashi 6ix9ine, I don't know if y'all remember him. He's the rainbow hair gangster rapper, non-black person who says the N-word with impunity, with black people gyrating and buck dancing in the videos behind him, giving him so-called street cred. Yeah, that guy. Out of almost a dozen co-defendants, I think all but two of them have pled guilty, and two of them are taking it to trial. So it is stated that for the first time in this whole Tekashi 6ix9ine racketeering case, Tekashi just might have to take the stand, and instead of just cooperating in the back rooms, he might have to go on public record and point the finger at his co-defendants. And everybody knows, and I don't know how it was a shock to anyone, that Tekashi 6ix9ine is a fake gangster, studio gangster, and not a real gangbanger. He was a cash cow for legitimate gangsters. He was being pimped and exploited by legitimate gangsters. And so, with this news being released that two of the almost dozen gang members, the 9 Trey or 6 Trey, or I think it's 9 Trey Bloods of Brooklyn, New York, two has said, I'm not going to plead out. And even though you got Tekashi 6ix9ine pointing fingers and snitching, I'm going to take it to trial, and Tekashi's going to have to sit on the stand and point the finger. He's not just going to be able to sign off on a document behind closed doors. I'm going to make him come public and snitch on me. And so, of course, Snoop Doggy Dogg, being the cultural icon that he is, stepped up. And stepped up when he found out that Snoop was going to snitch, and said, let that rat rot. And he said to, and he didn't just share it, he didn't just feel that sentiment, he communicated on his vast social network. Let that rat rot. And then after that, he put hashtag G-Code. Now, I don't know if you guys have been following, but these men who Tekashi 6ix9ine is snitching on, they are not revolutionaries. This is not a COINTELPRO situation. They were not trying to subvert the status quo. They were not fighting against the police. They were not against bankers and multinational corporations. In fact, they were building multinational corporations and then putting millions of dollars into multinational banks. These young men were preying on black people, shooting at black people, kidnapping black people, robbing black people, murdering other black people. As I've been following the case, they have been creating disruption, dysfunction, distributing drugs to black people in the black community. Now, I in my life have never snitched on anybody, even though I have close friends who were in the life. But I had to explain to these close friends that were in the life, keep me out of it. Because I am not a G. I do not endorse black criminality and black on black crime. The only criminal conspiracy I will cooperate in is a revolutionary conspiracy to subvert the status quo, to overthrow capitalism. Not to elevate myself within the materialist consumption culture of capitalism. But understanding the G code, if you are a so-called quote-unquote civilian, you don't have any dirt on it. But if you're a non-civilian and you're within the G code, and a lot of black men who are not G's, who are not gangsters, like the masculinity, the power, the riches, smoking big cigars and popping bottles with models, they like to embody that. So a lot of black men who ain't gangster use gangster lingo. They dress like gangsters. They have that gangster street hood swagger. And they walk around talking about G-code this and G-code that. So a lot of civilian black men like myself are mad at Tekashi, when you should be at best indifferent or outraged. Me, I'm indifferent. I'm not mad at Tekashi 6ix9ine for snitching. I am outraged at these young, talented, organized black men decided to use their talent and organization for hyper exploitation and harming and killing black people, as opposed to liberating black people. And if the outcome's going to be the same, dead or in jail, you might as well be a dead or in jail revolutionary as opposed to a dead or in jail parasite on your community. But that's my personal view. But Snoop Doggy Dogg is very curious to me, because I know a lot of other clowns have been saying that. But I want to share one thing with y'all. This came out after the Sandy Hook shooting. Listen to this very closely, and I'm going to come back and say a few more words of that. Check this mess out. Let's see. Whoa, hold on.
How I've been affected by gun violence over the years is through deaths of friends and family members and associates.
When I was 5 years old, I was held at gunpoint in a home invasion.
I've gone to the juvenile detention centers and I've met dozens of young kids, babies really, who have been affected by gun violence.
Directly, I've lost a few friends, but I think why this touches my heart is having children of my own.
You know, I've been at parties where, I had just left the party and, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, I heard that, somebody got shot and didn't make it.
There are a lot of people benefiting off of our pain, and it's time we do something.
I'm here to unload my investment because I think that it's important that we start kind of seeing where our money is going.
It's time to go to your financial advisor and demand that there are no gun investments in your 401k.
Even if you don't have investments, you can still help spread the word.
This is something everyone can do.
So if you push your people that have 401ks, might be your grandma, might be your cousin, this effort can make a big impact.
I'm unloading for my loved one that I lost.
I'm unloading for my 18-year-old self.
I'm unloading my 401k for the future of my children.
I'm unloading.
I'm unloading.
For my family and their future.
I'm unloading so that my daughter can grow up in a safe, loving world.
Unload and join the movement.
Use hashtag I'm unloading to pledge your support for gun-free investing.
Now that was Snoop Doggy Dogg, and there were some other celebrities in there. The basketball player Matt Barnes, that young South African pop singer Ajike Kokoko, whatever her name. I'm sorry for butchering her name, but I can't keep up with all these young celebrities. But Snoop Dogg anchored that. Snoop Dogg, who announced in 2015, after the Sandy Hook shooting, that he was going to unload. And there's a hashtag unload. Millions made rapping on guns. Snoop Dogg urges investors to sell gun stocks. So Snoop Dogg, when he saw that there was a white massacre. And Snoop Dogg is paid. I'm sure he's paid. I don't know if he's paid or not. But I know that Snoop Dogg in 2015, when he started this campaign, he was worth over $135 million. And his millions were invested, had a wide range of investments and holdings. And he confirmed that he went to his management team, his money management team, and informed them that he wanted no money, no income from the gun industry and small weapons industry. And then he said he was going to join the campaign, hashtag I'm unloading, and encourage others. And he gathered these other celebrities together. Well, he was part of the, he gathered. He didn't really do anything. He just shows up and says his lines. But people are able to go around and say, listen, we've got Snoop Dogg on board. And then other celebrities, lesser celebrities, will say, well, damn, if Snoop is doing it, then it's obviously cool. It's the thing to do. So Snoop gets on this campaign. And at the same time, he's on this campaign talking about unloading so little white kids don't get shot. Or as a result of little white kids suffering a gun massacre. He's out here in the hood, in the streets, among the community talking about G-Code. Now, maybe y'all know more about this street stuff than I do. I don't see the correlation between street code, G-Code, and nonviolence or divesting from guns. And maybe in 2015, you could have thought, well, maybe Snoop Dogg, because that was, remember back then, he became Snoop Lion. And he went to Jamaica and had a spiritual awakening, and he became a Rastafarian, and he changed his name from a dog to a lion because some Rastafarian elder said, you know, a dog is a lowly creature, but a lion is a powerful Lion of Judah. So he changed his name to Snoop Lion, and then he did a full-on reggae album. And if you go look at those photos from the, you know, just less than 5-6 years ago, he was wearing red, gold, and green, and His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie and all the red, black, and green garb. He was wearing all that. He was on that tip. And then he tried to be more mature. Uncle Snoop. And then he did a gospel album that became the top-selling gospel album of all time, or at that era. I don't know what. I don't listen to gospel. I can't name one track off that album. I don't even know what the cover of that album looks like. But I read an article that said Snoop Dogg had the top gospel album. So I don't know. Maybe Snoop is still pimping. Maybe he's pimping the anti-gun lobby. Maybe he's pimping this G-code thing. He pimped Rastafarianism. He pimping y'all Christians. Maybe he's just more pimping. And maybe, you know, I'm hating on the game. But I don't really care what Snoop does. When I talk about the things these prominent black people do, it's not because I care or want them to do different. I just want the masses, the people from my class, the black proletariat, the black masses, the black strugglers, the conscious black community to have an understanding and articulate this understanding. That these celebrities, that these prominent figures, but it ain't just Snoop Dogg. Obama will come to the black community. Obama came just a few blocks from my house in Hyde Park High School and talked to the black students about nonviolence. And Obama had more blood on his hand than every gangbanger, black gangbanger in the world put together. Obama has killed more people and destroyed more communities than every black gang in the history of existence. So these black elites and their hypocrisy is nothing new. But I just thought after he went to Nipsey Hussle and was one of the major speakers at the Nipsey Hussle funeral, and he was decrying the violence and promoting a gang truce, at the same time he's validating gang culture. It's just all over the place. And I just don't know how you guys roll with that, swallow that, comprehend that. But I just wanted to highlight it. And then Snoop Dogg could have at least said, look, I'm going to divest a few $1 million from guns. And why don't I throw that to the hood, throw that to the street? But I digress. It's just every time I turn around, it's 1 minute he's speaking peace and the next minute he's on G-code and let that rat rot. And I would ask Snoop Doggy Dogg, because he said Nipsey Hussle is his little brother. Is he pissed off at the eyewitnesses that are snitching on, what's his name? Eric Holder, a.k.a. Shitty Cuz? Is he mad about the people who are helping the Los Angeles Police Department to build a case against the murderer of Nipsey Hussle? Does he want the G-code to be enacted and everybody that saw Nipsey Hussle get killed? No. Why? Because Nipsey Hussle was a rich nigga. Nipsey Hussle had money. Snoop Doggy Dogg is like, damn, if they can touch a millionaire, they can touch me. He don't care about us, the black masses. On the day Nipsey Hussle got shot, there were at least 5 to 6 other black people that were shot and killed in the Los Angeles area. That didn't nobody care because they were poor black folks. Black lives matter or not? Rich black lives? Celebrity black lives matter more? I just think, you know, nothing I hate more than hypocrisy, except maybe stupidity. So Snoop Doggy Dogg keeps giving, but I digress. Yeah, I understand. Someone said don't follow celebrities. I hear a lot of black people. People always like, yeah, don't follow celebrities. But like I said, Snoop got $150 million. Kanye West is on his way to being a billionaire. He just made the Forbes list. And he's going to be the 3rd or 4th black, quote-unquote, self-made billionaire. So y'all talking about y'all don't follow them, but y'all throw tons of money at them. And I live on the south side of Chicago. I know what the Yeezys look like, them ugly ass shoes. I see black kids who are up and down the street in Yeezys, up and down the street in Jordans. So yeah, it's good to say, yeah, forget the black celebrities, but you know, did Gregory say, who you give your money to is who you give your power to. So I think we need to look at these black celebrities and acknowledge and analyze and share the contradictions. It's unfortunate, but that's what more people know more about celebrities than they do about scholars. So you get more out of critiquing celebrities than you do out of critiquing black scholarship and analysis. Unfortunately. But I was born into this. I didn't make it. And I can't just do what I want to do. I have to do what needs to be done. So I don't really support the whole, forget black celebrities or don't follow black celebrities. No, I think we should highlight and raise the contradictions, expose their betrayals, expose their hypocrisies, and then we can reduce the level of influence, the level of power, the level of control that these celebrities have over our community. And you can't, cure cancer by ignoring a tumor. You have to cut it out. You have to diagnose it. You have to follow. But let me just say something about mental health and get back to the mixtape. I've been hearing, and it annoys me that social media and the black community in general, on the ground and online, there's a lot of talk about mental health. And we have everything from suicide rates going up amongst black people. And there was this campaign a few years ago to get black men to talk about our mental health and this and that. And I just hear all this. And of course, I'm married to a mental health professional. And some of my favorite revolutionaries, from Farron Sanan to Dr. Bobby E. Wright to Marimba Ani, are mental health professionals. So it's not that I think mental health is unimportant, but our understanding of mental health is greatly distorted. Dr. Bobby E. Wright said, they're not trying to help black people to be mentally healthy. They're trying to give black people coping mechanisms. Or as Speech said, the word cope and the word change is directly opposite, not the same. We should be working to change our roles, but the pastors say, pray to cope with those. So what is mental health in a sick society? If you look up the definition of mental health, it is strongly interrelated with societal and cultural norms. Basically, a mentally healthy person is essentially defined as a person who is able to navigate their society, who is able to function in this physical society and have psychological and emotional connection and proper interactions with other people. So if you dress right, walk right, talk right, act right, you're defined as mentally healthy. So madness is behaving in such a way that will either cause you to be estranged from the norms or that go against or violate the norms of society. Mental health is adhering to the norms of your system and culture and society. Mental unhealth is having either a behavioral, cognitive, functional condition that will not allow you, or the conscious, deliberate refusal to stick with the norms of your society. So what is mental health in a sick society? I once had a brother who worked in healthcare for years. And he said there's no such thing as health in America. There's only varying degrees of disease. And that really stuck with me to this day. I haven't spoke to the brother in over a decade. Every day I think about that. There's no such thing as health. There's only varying degrees, varying intensities of pathologies in this society. And we know if we read the historical record, when Europeans came to the New World, when Europeans penetrated the dark continent, when the Europeans went to the Far East, many of the philosophers, the writers, the shamans, the griots of that era thought that white people were utterly insane. Africans, Aboriginals, Asians, Native Americans, Polynesians, Pacific Islanders, the people who lived in the archipelagos in Southeast Asia, when they encountered white people, they thought they were insane. And if you go and read these writings, many of the European writers would even laugh and chuckle, and they were so amused at the bewilderment that the native people had at European behavior. One example, when the Europeans went to the Great White North, the Yukon, the Northern Arctic, and you can read the history of the European gold rush. They had a northern gold rush where they went into the Arctic North to dig up gold, and they had an eastern gold rush. I mean, a western gold rush, the California gold rush. Everybody, the California or the westward gold rush is better known event in history, because if you ever go to the West Coast, especially if you go to Northern California or Central California, there's a lot of monuments, and there's a lot of history there. You can even go to these old gold mining towns. But we don't know as much about the Great Northern Gold Rush because not a lot of people live up there. Ain't nobody gonna go to the Yukon, to Alaska, in the frozen and go look at a tourist exhibit. In California, people like to go to California. It's got a lot of nice weather and a lot of weird people, including you, Chuck. Reva, y'all weird on the way. Y'all weird. Y'all Oakland cats is peculiar, but it's a good weird because we got all this funky music and, you know, Oakland hip hop. I mean, I guess if it weirdness works for y'all, but y'all particular, but that's not what I'm talking about. You go to the West Coast. I've been all the way up to Northern California. I've been all up and down the California coast and Central California too. And you'll find that there's a lot of history there. But the Inuit people, the people who lived in the Arctic, or the native, the Nanuks of the North, the Inuit people started to see this influx of white people come. And these people were whalers. They were, or less, you know, politically incorrect term, the Eskimo people. And sometimes the Eskimo people, the Europeans would talk to them. And they would say, you know, we were here isolated. We started seeing the white man come. And then, you know, one white man would come and go up to the north and dig up these rocks. And then come back with the rocks. And then 10 white men will go and come back with the rocks. And then 20 white men will go get the rocks. And then thousands of white men started to come to get these rocks. And it's crazy because they saw that the white men will come ill-equipped. They were not equipped with living in the Arctic region. They didn't know. They came from Europe, but they didn't know how to survive up there in Eskimo country. They knew that they came to collect these rocks and that literally hundreds of them would die every year chasing these rocks. And the Inuit people just did not understand why you would put your life at risk, your life, the thing that is most valuable. You put your life at risk for these silly rocks. And that was insane. And they really thought that these people were suffering from some type of feverish madness, the gold fever, gold rush. And they would watch these white men come, and 10 white men would head up north with pickaxes, and only 1 or 2 will come back. And they'd come back, and some of the men were eaten by polar bears. Some of the men fell into the ice. Some of the men went stark mad. Some men just got lost because it's just white, all white. Everything looks the same, and they just went off and froze to death. And the Inuit people were always like, what the hell is wrong with these people? And then they had no respect for the ecosystem. They had no respect for nature. They didn't respect their own lives. And the Inuit men would look at these white men and say, do you have a woman? Yes. Do you have children? Yes. Do you have family, community? Yes. Then that's what you should be building. Why are you up here after rocks? So I can get wealth. What are you going to do with the wealth? Well, wealth allows me to have leisure time. If I'm rich, I don't have to work. Hey, wait, what? You need money to just sit and relax? They just didn't understand this consumerism. And so all of Western culture was absolute insanity to the Inuit people. Now, if an Inuit came, an ancient Inuit, because now the Inuits, they suffer. There was just a book my wife co-edited talking about suicides amongst the Inuit people. They have drugs, and because their culture, their ecosystem was destroyed, their way of life was destroyed, and now they have to chase the gold rocks, where the gold rocks have been replaced by fiat paper, which is even less valuable than the rocks. And so they're madness. Now they're the crazy ones. Now, literally, European mental health professionals are going up there to give psychotherapy to the Inuits, because now the Inuits are the crazy ones. And if you read about in Africa, when the British colonized Kenya, the Kikuyu and the Luo tribes, when the Kenyans, they said that the Kenyan, the East Africans, there was no Kenya at that time, but the East Africans were like, thought that the Europeans were insane. They were like, come here, do this labor for money. And the Africans, in their market, they say you do labor to produce goods for the service of people. The concept of working for money, it's like if I need a boat, I'll go build a boat. Or if I need a boat, I'll go to the carpenters, or I'll go to the community, the tribe, the craftsmen that make the boat, and I'll tell them, hey, I need a boat. And they'll make me a boat. Why do they make you a boat? Because I need a boat. And you know, we do deal in textiles, so if someone needs textile, they come to me and say, hey, I need more textiles. And so their economy was not a currency-based economy. It was a need-based economy. And nobody did any work unless there was a need to do the work. So working for money or to build up wealth was an alien concept. And the British came there and said, it is impossible to get the Africans to do work on these plantations. It's alien to them to do work, to conceptualize, we're going to do this work, this abstract work that doesn't meet any immediate needs. We're going to manufacture these goods. For what? To sell. Who needs them? If someone needs these goods, let's just give it to them. And then when we need something and they can help us, they'll give it to us. Oh, no. We're not going to just give it. We don't manufacture to meet needs. We manufacture to generate profits. And so the Kenyans were like, I tell you what, to hell with that. And they offered the Kenyans money. And then they offered the Kenyans, we'll give you land to farm of your own. It's like, what do you mean you'll give me land? What the hell do you mean by giving or taking or possessing land? That's absurd. You dwell on land. You don't own it. So anyway, long story short, in order to get the Kenyans to enter the European market economy, that the Kenyans, or the proto-Kenyans, or the natives of East Africa, they literally would go into their villages and kidnap their children and say, if you don't come work on these plantations, if you don't come work these mines, if you don't come do this labor, we will hold your children. Because they couldn't conceptualize working for money, but they can conceptualize working to rescue their children. And the Europeans wrote it down. There's a lot of histories about that. It was one of the things about the Mau that drove the Mau Mau rebellion, remembering how the Europeans came and forced so to most cultures, the market-based, profit-driven economy is utter madness. To me, it's madness as well. We all know the story about how the Native Americans gave away Manhattan for a song because they had no concept of land ownership. And when someone comes to tell you, if somebody comes to tell you, hey, I want to buy those molecules of oxygen from you, and you're like, molecules of oxygen? Yes, I'll give you this shiny chain to possess those molecules of oxygen. You're like, fine, give me the chain. And you think you're getting over on them. Because like, we don't own oxygen molecules. That's not something that can be owned. It's something that exists, that was here before I was born and will be here long after I'm dead. There's no concept of owning molecules and oxygen. But then you get up one day after selling those molecules of oxygen, you're walking down the street and that same man steps out with a gun and says, you owe me a breathing tax because I own the oxygen. Pay my breathing tax or I'll blow your damn brains out. Now you would be like, what? And then people would turn around like, haha, you got suckered. That's literally what happened. The Indians, the white man came and said, I want to buy this land from you. I was like, what does that mean? I want to give you something to own this land. Ha, okay, give me something, sucker. You can't own the land owns us. And so the Indians didn't know how that would play out. They just took the trinkets, took the glass beads, took the muskets, and went on with their lives. And then the next day they show up to go to their communal hunting grounds or their fishing grounds, and a white man shows up with a fence and a gun saying, "Get off my land." And the Indians was like, "This is a maniac." So I'm just trying to communicate that when we talk about mental health, black people and our mental health, we're talking about putting ourselves in a position where we can properly function in an utterly insane, sick system. That's what mental health is for most black people and most black professionals. He doesn't get up and go to work consistently. He doesn't pay his bills consistently. He doesn't wear the proper clothing. He doesn't say the right words. Something's wrong with him. So what the hell is mental health in a mad, sick society? What is mental health in a society where our livelihood is based on destroying the capacity to live? Where our comfort is literally rooted in the utter misery of other people? What is that? And so few mental health professionals seem to comprehend this. I've concluded, not on my own, but with the help of these scholars, some that I mentioned and some that I have yet to share, that the only way for an African person to be psychologically healthy, and Frantz Fanon is probably one of the first persons to really stitch this together. The only way for an African person to be healthy on planet Earth today is to be in ongoing resistance. Or as you know, both James Baldwin and Professor William Mackey said, is to be insane most of the time. To be healthy is to be mad. To be angry, to be outraged, and allow that outrage to feed some rational actions in opposition to the system. If you are not a revolutionary, you are not mentally healthy. To quote Dale Jones verbatim, if you are not African-centered, you are insane. If you don't oppose the systems and institutions of global white domination, you are not mentally healthy. I don't care how calm you are, how at peace with yourself you are, how aligned your chakras are, how stable economically you are, how balanced you are, how infrequently you get angry, how few negative thoughts. I have no negativity. How much little negativity, how few negative vibrations, how you curb in negativity in 2019. You are not a mentally healthy person. You may be a calm person. You may be a person who is at peace. You may even be a non-violent person. But what you're really communicating when you're saying, I'm peaceful, I'm not negativity, what you're really saying is, I lack empathy. And a human being who lacks empathy is a psychopath. I can dwell in a space that is rooted in misery, slavery, genocide, oppression, ecocide, omnicide, and I could still be calm. I used to say, I don't use these references much anymore because I just try to shun religion in all capacity. But I said the only person smiling in hell is the devil and his demons. So if you are comfortable, if you are content, if you are at peace in the United States, on the continent of Africa, in the Caribbean, if you are at peace anywhere in this world, you are insane. You either have delusions of grandeur, thinking everything's going to be all right, or you are a social or psychopath who is fully comfortable with your well-being being rooted in the oppression of others. Living on a land where the natives are still with us under genocidal occupation. You are okay with the destroying of the ecosystems. So mental health is the appropriate psychological response to material conditions. Having the proper psychological response that will inform and direct the appropriate actions. That is mental health. We cannot use the Western or standard definition of mental health because mental health, that definition means that we are appropriately insane. And there are even capitalists who promote the idea that lacking empathy, being driven, having focus, putting your blinders on, you can't be bothered. You can't be bothered with the woes of the world. You can't be bothered with other people. You focus on your goal, and your goal is prominent, obsessive, compulsive. You know, it's not, you know, you can have a mental illness, like a hoarding mentality. You just got to hoard the right thing. If you hoard newspapers or cats, you're crazy. But if you hoard money, you're a captain of industry. But Jeff Bezos is as crazy as the cat lady, the lady with 80 cats on your block. The cat lady is no more mentally healthy than Jeff Bezos and vice versa. But we allow Jeff Bezos to dictate, and what's his name? Bill Gates. They dictate education policy, economic policy, and all other economic development, international trade. We allow these insane people to control the world. And then we encourage and educate our children with the same mental illnesses that these men have so that they can have the material comforts and opportunities that these men have. It's a mad, mad world. So I would like for us to start to redefine mental health. Because we are in mental health creating Mentacide. One of the ways to appear to be mentally healthy in this society is to allow your true African mind to be destroyed. You can be ahistorical. You can be anti-analytical and anti-academic. That way, you only say, hey, I'm not going to care. Hey, I'm just trying to get this money. I'm not worried about all that stuff. That's being ahistorical, anti-analytical. I ain't trying to hear that. I'm trying to get this money. I can't worry about nobody else. That's lacking empathy. That's psychopathic. When you hear these so-called healthy people that are doing what they're supposed to do in society, if you break down their concepts, even saying, I am blessed and highly favored, that's narcissism. There is literally all these positive, quote unquote, positive saying, the individualism, all of these so-called positive positions, healthy, quote unquote, healthy positions that black people have. You can find literally a diagnosis, a mental disorder associated with those positions. And when black people lash out, Professor William Mackey gave this wonderful lecture. I wish I could get a hold of it, called Crazy Niggas. And I'm sorry to be crass, but that's what he called it. Take it up with Professor Mackey, the great ancestor, if you don't like me saying that word. But he said crazy niggas. And he did a chronology of all these black men and women that went, quote unquote, crazy by the standards of white people. And he demonstrated how those black people actually went sane, how they finally woke up. One of the most popular crazy niggas that we know was Nat Turner. Nat Turner went sane on them. When we start to act like the fully actualized, fully human Africans that we are, that's when they really start to call us crazy. And he showed where the Europeans wrote down in the court files, this is an insane Negro. He wouldn't bow his head. He wouldn't step off the curb when a white man came down the street. He stood strong and bucked his chest out. This Negro done lost his damn mind. They used to call Malcolm X a crazy Muslim. They used to call Ida B. Wells that crazy negress. And they used to hate her, see her coming. The suffragettes. There's a documentary called Iron-Jawed Angels about white women and fight for their right to vote. And they used to hate to see the black women coming. And here come Ida B. Wells talking about this nonsense, and they couldn't understand. Ida B. Wells is a cultured woman. She's an educated woman. She's a black woman that has opportunities Negroes don't have in this country. And here she is worrying about those backwards Southern Negroes. That's crazy. You got all this money, you got all this clout, you got all this opportunity, and you're going to worry yourself with these ne'er-do-wells, with these hard-headed, these no-good niggas. When you go sane, they call you crazy. And they start to elevate you when you fully embrace the madness. This is madness. I can't play it on the air because it has too many curse words, but go listen to The Last Poets. This is madness. But I want to return. We can talk more about this. Maybe I'll have to open the phones. And John, the phone thing is still messing up because I want to talk more about this. I want to, when I come back on the air, I'm going to start opening the phones more frequently. And when I come back from New York, week after next. I'm gonna make a commitment to open the phones more frequently. And when I open the phones, y'all better take advantage of the open phones, and so that we can expand this discussion. Cause I mean, you know. But this is the Bro Diallo show. Let's go crazy. Then Prince, let's go crazy. Let's get nuts. Let's wild out on these fools. If white folks ain't looking at you, shaking their head and sucking their teeth like something wrong with that one, you ain't doing what's right. If you are not African-centered, you are insane. If you are sane by the standards of this society, you are sick by the standards of our African ancestors and by the standards of basic humanity and basic decency. This is a sick society. So don't align yourself with it. Stand in opposition to it. Even if you have to navigate and work within it and sustain yourself within it, you should be conspiring against it at every opportunity and giving all your free time and resources to subverting it. That is mental health. Revolution is the only manifestation of mental health. The only way I know that you are mentally healthy, not through your deeds, through your what you articulate. Q4 Radio, AM 1680, Bro Diallo Show. I really want to get back to this Kwame Ture traveling exhibit mixtape, DJ Dash and Xavier, and I hope they give me more. Whenever y'all drop a new track, let a brother know, kick a brother down, send me the file, and I'm going to broadcast it because this is dope. And I'm not going to take too much time. I will be heading to New York. I give my word, and I know my word ain't worth crap, but I'm giving it anyway. Y'all take worthless fiat currency from the white man. Y'all can take the worthless word of Bro Diallo when I say I'm going to do a Q&A. We got a lot of worthless stuff we pass around that's valuable. But I'm going to do, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to come back. I have to talk to John to do some rebroadcasts because I'm heading to the East Coast for a few days. I'm going to be in Brooklyn, and then I'm head out to Sag Harbor, and then back to Brooklyn, and then back to Chicago. And that should be it for traveling. So we won't have many breaks until hopefully the fall. But I'm saying that, like I said, my word don't mean nothing. My word is worth as much as the U.S. dollar. Except I don't have nuclear bombs to force people to value my word. Like they have nuclear bombs to force y'all to value their fiat currency that has no worth, intrinsic worth. But I digress. I need some of that fiat to stay on the air, by the way. So you can become a Patreon. You can support. While I'm traveling, I'll be able to update the site. I'm behind on updating the site. I'm behind on updating Patreon. There's so much things I'm behind on. And I'm in a perpetual state of exhaustion. So hopefully in this trip, I can get some rest so that I can at least be less behind, catch up with myself for a little bit. I know I owe some people some info on African World Coalition and our meetings. I'm going to work to have an African World Coalition meeting before I leave town. I'm going to work to do a Q&A maybe Monday, especially if I can't come on the air. I definitely will do that if I'm preparing for the show and the other things. I mean preparing for the trip and all that. So we're going to get back to the mixtape. If you are listening on Q4 Radio, tune in at iTunes, AM 1680 within the city of Chicago. And don't hold me to this, but you can check the Q4. Go and like the Q4 Facebook page. And at one time, you were able to listen to the radio station live on the Facebook page, but I'm not sure if that's still a thing. It's not listed here, but you can go confirm. Like I said, I listen on the website myself. That's how I like to listen to the show, to Q4 Radio when I'm not on broadcasting live on Q4 Radio. But we're going to get back to the mixtape. Holla at your boy. New York, what's up? Get at your boy. Word is bond. I'm going to the gentrification. I hate New York, really. If it wasn't for my peoples and the peoples I've made connections with, I probably would never make my way back to New York. White folks done messed it all up. Anyway, Kwame Ture mixtape. And I will see you guys on the other side. Peace.